Here is the problem nobody talks about in the gardening world. People grow things they never eat. I'm not saying that to be harsh. I am saying it because it is one of the most common things that happens in home gardens across this country every single season. Someone reads about an ancient crop, gets excited, orders the seeds, plants them carefully, watches them grow, and then stands in front of a mature plant with absolutely no idea what to do next. How do you harvest it without killing it? Which part do you actually eat? How do you make it taste good instead of like something you are forcing yourself to chew? The result is that the plant either gets left in the ground until it dies, harvested badly in a way that ruins future production, or cooked in a way that makes the whole family agree never to do that again, and the seed catalog gets blamed, and the ancient crop gets a reputation for being difficult or unpleasant, and the knowledge disappears a little further. That ends today. This video is not about whether to grow these crops. We have covered that across multiple videos on this channel, and the answer is always yes. This video is entirely about what happens after they are in the ground and producing, how you actually harvest them without damaging the plant, what part you eat at what stage, and how you cook them in a way that makes them genuinely delicious, not tolerable, not educational, but actually good enough that you come back for more. I'm going to make you a promise before we go through all 12. By the end of this video, you are going to have a complete harvest and cooking reference for every forgotten crop we have covered on this channel. The ones your family looked at sideways, the ones you grew last year and quietly composted because you did not know what to do with them, and the ones you are about to plant this season and wanted to know about before the harvest arrived. Stay through all 12 because number 8 has a harvesting mistake that almost everyone makes the first time, a mistake that stops the plant from producing again. And number 11 has a cooking transformation so dramatic that people who have tried it once and hated it completely change their minds when they try it the right way. Let us start harvesting. 1. Jerusalem artichoke, sunchoke. Harvest timing is everything. The single most common Jerusalem artichoke mistake is harvesting too early. People see the tall stalks dying back in fall and immediately dig everything up, expecting a potato-like harvest. They get tubers, but not the best version of those tubers. Here's what actually happens inside that root system as the season progresses. The tubers spend all summer storing complex carbohydrates. After the first hard frost, the kind that kills the stalks down to the ground, those complex carbohydrates begin converting to simpler sugars. The tubers get sweeter, more flavorful, and more digestible. Their texture improves. That frost conversion is not incidental. It is the whole point. How to harvest correctly. Wait for at least one hard frost before digging. Use a garden fork, not a spade. Push it into the soil about a foot away from where the stalks were standing and lever upward. The tubers grow in a radius around the central root mass and can travel surprising distances underground. Dig slowly and patiently. Any tuber you nick with a spade will not store well. Leave some tubers in the ground deliberately. One already stay about 1 in 3. These become next year's plants without you doing anything. If you dig everything, you have to replant. If you leave some, the garden plants itself. Storage. Jerusalem artichokes do not store well at room temperature. They shrivel within days. Store them unwashed in a plastic bag in the refrigerator for up to 3 weeks. Or better yet, leave them in the ground and harvest as needed throughout winter. The ground is their best storage environment. The cooking transformation. Thin, crispy sunchoke chips. This is the preparation that converts people who tried sunchokes once, had a bad experience with an unpleasant starchy whole roasted version, and swore never again. Slice as thin as you can. A mandolin gives you ideal thickness, but a sharp knife and patience works. Do not peel them. Heat a generous amount of oil in a heavy skillet over medium-high heat. Add slices in small batches. Do not crowd the pan or they steam instead of fry. 2 to 3 minutes per batch until golden and crispy. Drain on paper towels and salt immediately while hot. The difficult starchiness of a whole sunchoke disappears completely in this preparation. What remains is a golden, nutty, subtly sweet chip that nobody identifies as the same vegetable they previously disliked. 2. Skirret. The root you harvest in pieces, not all at once. Skirret produces clusters of long, thin, sweet roots radiating from a central crown, like the fingers of a hand beneath the soil. Most first-time growers dig up the entire plant in fall, eat the roots, and lose their planting stock entirely. Then they wonder why they have to buy seeds again. Skirret is a perennial. The crown is the part that returns every year and gets more productive with age. Your harvest strategy should preserve that crown while taking the roots you need. How to harvest correctly. In fall after the first frost, or in early spring before new growth starts, dig carefully around the outside of the plant with a hand trowel. You are not lifting the whole crown. You are excavating individual roots from the outside of the cluster while leaving the central crown and as many roots as practical in the ground. Think of it as selective harvesting rather than full extraction. Take what you need. Leave the rest to regrow. A skirret crown that has been harvested this way for 3 years is more productive than a first-year plant by a significant margin. If you do need to divide the plant, for propagation or because the crown has become very dense, split it with a sharp knife, replant divisions immediately, and water them in well. The problem most people encounter, a woody core runs through each skirret root. In young roots from a first-year plant, this core can be quite tough and fibrous. On roots from established second and third-year plants, it is less pronounced. Always taste a raw root before cooking and check the core. If it is tough, simply split each root lengthwise and remove the core before cooking. The cooking transformation: caramelized skirret with brown butter. Scrub roots split lengthwise, remove any tough core. Melt a generous knob of butter in a heavy pan over medium heat and let it cook past the foaming stage until it smells nutty and turns light golden brown. This is brown butter, and it will change how you think about cooking vegetables. Add skirret halves cut side down. Do not touch them for 3 full minutes. Flip once. Another 2 minutes. The cut sides will be deeply caramelized, golden brown, and sweet. Season with flaky salt and a few fresh thyme leaves. The natural sugars in skirret caramelize so completely in this preparation that the result tastes closer to a dessert than a vegetable. This is why Roman emperors demanded it as tribute. Gemeratus 3. Lovage. Gemeratin, harvest young, harvest often, dry the rest. Lovage is the perennial herb that tastes like an intensely concentrated, earthy celery, and the most common harvesting mistake is treating it like a one-time annual harvest rather than the continuous cut-and-come-again perennial it actually is. How to harvest correctly. Always cut from the outside of the plant, taking the oldest outer stalks first and leaving the young central growth to continue producing. Cut stems at the base where they meet the central crown. Do not break them halfway up, which invites disease and leaves an ugly stub. In the plant's first year, harvest lightly. Take no more than a quarter of the growth at any one time to let the root system establish. From the second year onward, lovage can handle aggressive harvesting and bounces back quickly. The leaves are most flavorful before the plant flowers. Once flower stalks appear in early summer, the leaf flavor becomes more intense and slightly more bitter. At that point, cut the flower stalks off entirely. This redirects the plant's energy back to leaf production, and you get a second flush of fresh, milder growth for the rest of the season. Drying for winter. Lovage dries beautifully and the dried leaf retains its celery flavor far better than most herbs. Cut stems in the morning after any dew has dried, bundle loosely and hang upside down in a warm, airy spot out of direct sunlight for 2 to 3 weeks. Strip the dried leaves from stems and store in an airtight jar away from light. They keep for a full year and provide celery flavor in winter soups and stews at 0 cost. The cooking transformation. Lovage and potato soup. Sauté 1 diced onion and 2 cloves of garlic in butter until soft. Add 4 peeled diced potatoes and enough chicken or vegetable broth to cover. Simmer until potatoes are completely tender, about 15 minutes. Add a generous double handful of fresh lovage leaves. Blend everything smooth. Season with salt and white pepper. The lovage turns this simple potato soup into something that tastes like it cooked all day and contains ingredients you cannot identify, but cannot stop eating. Serve with bread. This is exactly what this herb was grown for in cottage gardens for 500 years. 4. Sea kale, the blanching trick that changes everything. Sea kale is the perennial coastal vegetable that produces spring shoots from a deep root system, and the harvesting technique is so specific and so important that getting it wrong produces a completely different and significantly less pleasant eating experience. How to harvest correctly. Blanching in place. In late winter, before any growth appears, cover the dormant crown with a large upturned pot, a bucket, a forcing jar, or any object that completely excludes light. Weight it down so wind does not move it. Check every few days after the first signs of warmth. Within 2 to 4 weeks, pale, etiolated shoots will push up in the darkness, white or pale yellow, soft and tender. These blanched shoots are the harvest. They are sweet, mild, and delicate in flavor. Harvest them when they reach 4 to 6 inches tall by snapping them cleanly at the base. Without blanching, sea kale shoots emerge green and develop the stronger, more assertive, cruciferous flavor that most people find challenging. The blanching step is not optional if you want the mild, sweet vegetable that made sea kale famous in Georgian-era English kitchen gardens. After harvest, remove the covering after harvesting to allow the plant to photosynthesize and rebuild its root reserves for next year. A sea kale crown should not be forced every year. Blanch every other year, and let the plant grow freely in the alternating years to maintain its long-term health and productivity. The cooking transformation. Sea kale with hollandaise. Steam blanched sea kale shoots for 3 to 4 minutes until just tender. Test with a knife tip, which should slide in with very slight resistance. Do not overcook. While they steam, whisk 2 egg yolks with a tablespoon of lemon juice in a small bowl, set over barely simmering water. Slowly drizzle in melted butter while whisking continuously until thick and glossy. Season with salt. Pour over the drained sea kale shoots. This is the preparation that appeared on wealthy English tables for 3 centuries, and the combination of the mild, slightly sweet shoots with rich, lemony hollandaise is one of the genuinely great pairings in vegetable cooking. 5. Good King Henry. 3 harvests from 1 plant. Good King Henry produces 3 completely different harvests across 3 seasons, and most people who grow it only discover one of them, usually the summer leaves, and miss the other 2 entirely. Harvest 1. Spring shoots. When new growth emerges in early spring, the first shoots push up like thick asparagus from the crown. Harvest these when they are 4 to 6 inches tall by snapping at the base, exactly as you would harvest asparagus. The window is short, perhaps 2 to 3 weeks before the shoots unfurl into full leaves. Once they begin leafing out, the asparagus-like harvest is over for the year. This is the most prized harvest and the one most people miss because they are not paying attention at the right moment in early spring. Harvest 2. Summer leaves. Throughout summer, harvest outer leaves regularly from the base of the plant. Young leaves are milder. Older large leaves have a stronger, more mineral flavor. Both are edible and useful. Harvest no more than 1/3 of the plant at any one time to keep it producing through the season. Harvest 3. Fall seeds. Allow some flower stalks to develop fully and go to seed in late summer and fall. When the seeds begin to darken and the seed heads dry, cut the stalks and thresh them. Rub between your palms over a bowl to release the seeds. Rinse in a fine mesh strainer to remove chaff. The seeds can be cooked like quinoa and have a similar mild, slightly nutty flavor. The cooking transformation. Spring shoot. Pasta. Blanch fresh. Good King Henry shoots in boiling salted water for 2 minutes. Drain and reserve a cup of the cooking water. Meanwhile, cook pasta of your choice. In a wide pan, heat olive oil and a crushed clove of garlic until fragrant. Add the blanched shoots, a splash of pasta cooking water, and the cooked pasta. Toss vigorously over heat for 1 minute. Finish with good Parmesan, black pepper, and a drizzle of high-quality olive oil. The shoots have a flavor between asparagus and spinach that works beautifully with pasta in a way that makes this one of the most satisfying spring meals in the garden cook's repertoire. 6. Amaranth. Leaves first, seeds second, nothing wasted. Amaranth produces 2 completely separate harvests, leaves and seeds, and managing the plant's growth cycle to get the best of both requires understanding how the plant moves through its stages. Harvesting leaves. Begin harvesting outer leaves when the plant reaches about 12 inches tall. Take no more than 1/3 at any harvest. The younger and smaller the leaf, the milder and more tender it will be. As the plant grows larger and approaches flowering, the leaves become more strongly flavored and slightly tougher. Still edible, better cooked than raw. Stop harvesting leaves once flower stalks develop to allow the plant to put its energy into seed production. Harvesting seeds. Seed heads are ready when you can run your hand through the plume and seeds fall readily into your palm. Cut entire seed stalks and lay them on a clean sheet or tarp in a dry, airy location for 1 to 2 weeks to finish drying. Then thresh by rubbing the dried heads over a bucket and winnow. Pour slowly from one container to another in a light breeze or in front of a fan to separate seeds from chaff. Rinse in water and spread to dry completely before storage. The cooking transformation: Amaranth leaf stir-fry. Asian style. Heat sesame oil in a wok or large pan over high heat until smoking. Add 2 cloves of minced garlic and a small piece of fresh ginger. Stir for 30 seconds. Add a large double handful of fresh amaranth leaves and toss continuously over high heat for 2 minutes until wilted. Add a splash of soy sauce and a few drops of sesame oil. Toss once more and serve immediately. This is a standard preparation across several Asian cuisines and is one of the fastest, most satisfying ways to cook amaranth leaves. The high heat, garlic, and ginger transform what can be an assertive green into something rich and deeply savory. 7. Purslane, the succulent you harvest stem by stem. Purslane has a growth habit that confuses first-time harvesters. It sprawls horizontally rather than growing upright, sending its thick, reddish stems across the soil surface in all directions. Most people either grab the whole plant and pull it up, ending the harvest permanently, or harvest the leaves individually, which takes forever and produces very little. How to harvest correctly: use scissors or your fingers to snip or pinch off the growing tips of each stem, the top 2 to 3 inches of tender new growth. This is exactly where the most succulent, mildest flavor is concentrated. It is also a cut that encourages branching. Each snipped stem tip produces 2 new branches within a week, making the plant more productive after every harvest rather than less. Never pull the whole plant unless you want to end the harvest entirely. A purslane plant harvested by stem tip snipping can produce continuously for the entire summer. Storage: purslane wilts quickly after harvest. Use it within 1 to 2 days, stored loosely in a slightly damp paper towel in the refrigerator. Do not wash until just before use. The cooking transformation: purslane and egg scramble with feta. Rinse a generous double handful of fresh purslane tips. Heat butter in a non-stick pan over medium heat. Add the purslane and toss for 60 seconds until it begins to wilt slightly, just enough to soften the texture while keeping some structure. Pour in 3 beaten eggs seasoned with salt and pepper. Scramble gently until just set. Crumble feta generously over the top. The slight citrusy tang of purslane, the richness of egg and butter, and the salty creaminess of feta create a combination that is so well balanced and immediately satisfying that it becomes a default summer breakfast once you have made it. Ready in 4 minutes from a plant that grew itself. 8. Stinging nettle, the harvesting mistake that stops production. This is the mistake I mentioned at the beginning, and it is so common that I want you to hear it clearly before you harvest a single stem. Most people harvest stinging nettle by grabbing the stem near the base and stripping upward to remove all the leaves. This removes the growing tips, the part of the plant that produces new leaves. Without growing tips, the plant cannot continue to branch and produce new harvests. You have ended the season's production in one stroke. How to harvest correctly: use scissors or kitchen shears. Cut only the top 4 to 6 inches of each stem, the youngest, most tender growth, which also happens to have the mildest flavor and the highest nutrient concentration. Leave everything below the cut intact. Within 1 to 2 weeks, 2 new side shoots emerge from below the cut, each of which you harvest the same way. A nettle patch harvested correctly produces 4 to 6 times over a season. A nettle patch harvested incorrectly produces once. Wear gloves every single time. Long sleeves are also wise. The sting is neutralized by heat, drying, or blending. Any of these methods completely destroy the stinging compounds. Once processed by any of these methods, stinging nettle is entirely safe to handle and eat. The cooking transformation: nettle and ricotta. Stuffed pasta shells. Blanch a large double handful of nettle tops in boiling salted water for 2 minutes. Drain and squeeze out all water firmly. Chop finely. Mix with 1 cup of ricotta, a handful of grated Parmesan, 1 egg yolk, salt, pepper, and a pinch of nutmeg. Stuff this mixture into large cooked pasta shells. Arrange in a baking dish, cover with your favorite tomato sauce and a little more Parmesan, and bake at 375 degrees for 20 minutes until bubbling and golden at the edges. The nettle in this dish is completely undetectable as the challenging plant it is in the garden. It tastes like a deep, mineral, slightly earthy green that makes the ricotta filling interesting and complex. Serve this to someone without telling them what is in it, and watch them ask for the recipe. 9. Dandelion. Harvest by season for completely different results. Dandelion is not one ingredient. It is 4 different ingredients depending on when you harvest and which part you take. Most people only ever encounter one of them, the bitter late-season leaves that give dandelion its reputation for unpalatability, and never discover the 3 genuinely delicious versions the same plant produces. Spring leaves, mild and tender. Harvest dandelion leaves in early spring before the plant flowers, when they are young and the bitterness has not yet developed. These can be used raw in salads with no bitterness treatment needed. This window is short, 2 to 3 weeks, but produces the easiest and most immediately pleasant dandelion eating experience. Flowers, sweet and completely mild. Harvest fully open flowers on sunny mornings when they are at their most open. The petals have 0 bitterness and a faintly sweet, honey-like flavor. Remove the green sepals at the base before using. These are bitter. The petals alone are what you eat and cook with. Summer and fall leaves needs treatment. Mature leaves are significantly more bitter and require a technique to make them pleasant. Blanch in boiling salted water for 60 seconds. Drain and squeeze out all water. This process removes a significant portion of the bitter compounds and leaves a mild, slightly earthy green that works well cooked. Fall root, the most medicinal harvest. Dig roots in fall when they are thickest and most concentrated in active compounds. Scrub, chop, dry in a low oven, and roast until dark brown and fragrant. Grind into powder for dandelion root tea. The cooking transformation, dandelion flour fritters. Mix 1 cup of flour with 1 egg, enough cold sparkling water to make a thin batter, about 3/4 of a cup, and a pinch of salt. Dip fully open dandelion flowers one at a time into the batter, letting excess drip off. Fry in hot oil for 90 seconds per side until golden and crispy. Drain on paper towels. Dust with powdered sugar and a drizzle of honey, or serve savory with salt and a squeeze of lemon. The flowers inside the crispy batter are sweet, completely mild, and delicate in a way that genuinely surprises people who expect bitterness. This is the preparation that converts dandelion skeptics permanently. 10. Lamb's quarters. Harvest young, preserve in volume. Lamb's quarters produces so prolifically as a self-seeded volunteer that the harvesting challenge is not getting enough. It is managing the abundance responsibly so you always have fresh, mild growth available rather than letting it all go to seed at once. How to harvest correctly. Pinch out growing tips from each plant regularly. The same stem tip method we use with Purslane. This delays the plant going to seed, keeps the growth young and mild, and encourages branching. Young leaves and tender growing tips are significantly milder and more versatile than older leaves. Once plants begin flowering and setting seed, the leaves become smaller and tougher but are still edible cooked. Allow a few plants to go to seed fully at the end of the season. These seeds will germinate next spring and give you another free harvest without replanting. Preserving the harvest. Lamb's quarters can be blanched and frozen exactly like spinach. Blanch in boiling water for 60 seconds. Plunge immediately into ice water to stop cooking. Squeeze out all moisture and freeze in portions. Frozen lamb's quarters retains its flavor and nutrition well and provides a free cooked green through winter that would otherwise cost you money at the store. The cooking transformation. Lamb's quarters. Sag. Sauté 1 finely diced onion in butter or ghee over medium heat until golden, about 8 minutes. Add 1 teaspoon each of cumin, coriander, and turmeric, a half teaspoon of garam masala, and 2 cloves of minced garlic. Cook the spices for 1 minute until fragrant. Add a large double handful of blanched, squeezed lamb's quarters and stir to combine with the spiced onion. Add a splash of water if needed to prevent sticking. Simmer 5 minutes. Finish with a tablespoon of heavy cream and a squeeze of lemon. Serve with rice or flatbread. This is the preparation that takes a free garden volunteer and turns it into one of the most satisfying plant-based meals in any cook's rotation. The spiced base transforms the flavor entirely, and the result is indistinguishable from a restaurant sag made with expensive bought spinach. 11. Elderberry. The cooking step you cannot skip. Elderberry has the most important preparation rule on this list, and it is non-negotiable. Raw elderberries cause nausea and digestive distress in most people. They must be cooked before eating in any significant quantity. This is the reason elderberries have a complicated reputation. People who eat them raw have a bad experience and conclude the plant is not worth growing. The fix is entirely simple. Cook them. 10 minutes of heat is all it takes to neutralize the compounds responsible for the nausea response. After cooking, elderberries are safe, delicious, and some of the most medicinally valuable food you can make from your garden. How to harvest correctly. Harvest entire berry clusters when the berries are fully dark, deep purple-black and slightly soft to the touch. Do not pick individual berries as they ripen unevenly, and this takes too long for a productive bush. Cut whole clusters with scissors into a bucket. Do not be tempted to taste more than 1 or 2 raw berries to check ripeness. That is safe in tiny amounts, but eating a handful raw is not. Removing berries from stems. The stems should not be eaten in quantity. They contain the same problematic compounds as raw berries in higher concentration. Use a fork to strip berries from their small secondary stems quickly. This takes patience, but is faster than it looks once you develop a rhythm. The berries freeze well directly after stripping. Freeze a portion for later use. The cooking transformation. Elderberry balsamic reduction. Combine 2 cups of stripped elderberries with a 1/4 cup of balsamic vinegar, 2 tablespoons of honey, and a pinch of black pepper in a small saucepan. Bring to a simmer and cook over medium-low heat for 15 minutes until the berries have completely broken down and the liquid has reduced to a thick, glossy sauce. Strain through a fine mesh if you want a smooth sauce, or leave rustic with berry pieces. This sauce poured over grilled duck, pork tenderloin, or strong cheese on a cheese board is one of the most sophisticated preparations you can produce from a garden plant. Deeply fruity, slightly tart, rich with natural pectin, and completely unlike anything that comes in a bottle. 12. Sorrel, the leaf that disappears when you cook it wrong. French sorrel produces that bright, intensely lemony flavor from oxalic acid in the leaves, and this same acid is the reason most first-time sorrel cooks are confused and disappointed. They add sorrel to a dish, and the vivid green color turns immediately to an unappealing olive brown. They think something went wrong. They think the sorrel is ruined. It is not. The color change is normal, chemically inevitable, and completely irrelevant to the flavor, which intensifies and concentrates as the color changes. Fighting the color is a losing battle. Accept it and focus on the flavor, which is extraordinary. How to harvest correctly. Harvest outer leaves regularly throughout the growing season. Sorrel goes to seed in summer heat. When flower stalks appear, cut them off immediately to keep the plant producing leaves. Without this deadheading, the leaves become smaller and the plant puts all its energy into seed production. Cut flower stalks at the base as soon as they appear, and the plant refocuses on leaves for weeks longer. The youngest, smallest leaves are mild and bright enough for raw use in salads. Larger, more mature leaves have a more intense acidity, better suited to cooking where the flavor concentrates and balances other ingredients. Storage. Sorrel wilts quickly. Wrap stems in a damp paper towel and refrigerate for up to 3 days. Or make sorrel butter. Blend fresh sorrel into softened butter with salt. Roll in parchment and freeze. This captures the fresh flavor for months and gives you instant sorrel butter to finish fish, chicken, or vegetables all winter.
The cooking transformation. Sorrel cream sauce in 4 minutes. This is the preparation that justifies everything. Slice a large double handful of sorrel leaves into thin ribbons. Melt a knob of butter in a small saucepan over medium heat. Add the sorrel ribbons and stir. They wilt and turn from bright green to olive within 30 seconds. This is correct. Add a 1/4 cup of heavy cream and stir everything together. Season with salt and the smallest pinch of sugar to balance the acidity. That is the complete recipe. 4 minutes from fresh leaf to finished restaurant-quality sauce. Pour it over pan-seared fish, over roasted chicken thighs, over simply cooked pasta with Parmesan. The concentrated, creamy, bright lemon flavor of this sauce is something that would cost you $15 a portion at a good restaurant. You made it from a perennial plant that has been growing in your garden for free and will keep growing there forever. The point of all of this. Growing these crops without knowing how to harvest and cook them is like buying a musical instrument and leaving it in the case. The potential is there, the value is there, but none of it arrives at your table until you know what to do with it. Every crop on this list today has a harvesting rhythm that keeps the plant producing rather than ending the season prematurely. Every crop has a cooking approach that transforms it from something unfamiliar into something you will genuinely want to eat again. The two pieces of knowledge work together, and neither one is worth much without the other. You have both now. The question I want you to answer in the comments today is this: which of these 12 crops have you been growing but not eating, and why? Was it the harvesting, the cooking, or just not knowing where to start? Tell me below, because your answer shapes what we cover next on this channel, and because every person who reads your comment might recognize their own experience in it. Share this video with one gardener in your life who grows things and does not eat them. They know who they are, and so do you. I will see you in the next one. Evergreen home living. Growing food that grows itself.